All right. And we're back.
And we're back.
Welcome, one and all, to the first episode of the Sales Report podcast. I'm Eric Shorter, along with my co-host Michael Smith. Say hi,
Hello.
Mike. Oh, there we go. Yeah, we're doing a podcast. It's about small business matters, talking to small business owners or people who consider themselves to be small businesses. There's a distinction in there somewhere. The show will attempt to be a transparent look at what it's like to actually run a small business at some level, and talking to people who do that. Mike, you got anything to say?
I'm very excited to dive in today. I'm very excited about a new theme for a podcast that you and I are doing.
A departure, for sure.
Yeah, I can't wait to just explore the financial side of what you're describing, and to meet new people.
Well, that's perfect. Let's explain who we are. So I'm Eric Shorter. I run a small eBay business, resale, mostly hitting thrifts and auctions and stuff like that, and then putting it online. That's my little business model, what I've been up to for the last couple of years. Michael, you went to Stockton University for something along the lines of business or accounting?
I think my bachelor's is in business.
Excellent.
So I know everything there is to know about business.
Awesome. And I think it's safe to say you are a enjoyer of numbers, of spreadsheets, of business accoutrement.
Yeah. Numbers. I've always liked numbers. I really liked the introduction to accounting at Cumberland County College, so I started going down that road. And I just personal finance I really enjoy, especially because it's something like I find tangible. Like if I learn something new about like an interesting way to invest, I can just do it and just try it. Mm-hmm. It's just something like you can act on immediately and see whether it was a good idea or a bad idea, and learn from it.
Yeah. All right. And that's who we are. That's what we're doing. And I think it's time to introduce our first guest.
Yes.
The very first guest on the podcast.
It's a big deal. You're the first guest, pal.
Yeah. Don't you say a word. I didn't introduce you. Our new friend and yours, hopefully, Patrick Fagan is with us. Patrick Fagan.
Hello, Patrick.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome.
It's nice to meet you. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad we're going to be talking about small business with you today.
I'm glad to be here for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so it seems like a simple two-word explanation of what you do, but you sell records.
Yeah, that's one way to sum it up. Okay. That's for sure.
Is it how wide does it go outside of that?
Really, it's records, tapes, and band shirts when I find them. Mm-hmm. So I try to stick with one thing just because I don't get too far out of my reach.
It's easy to be an expert on one thing. Hard to be an expert on a lot of things.
Yeah.
It's cool, yeah, because I didn't even really think about how centralized his operation is to music. Obviously, it's vinyl, but then you mentioned you play bass, and then you were talking about cassette, and then you just mentioned band shirts. Like, it's cool because you mentioned our shared love of music. We were chatting outside, and it's same deal here. It seems like.
Yeah, it's.
And you are a young person. You are 20, right?
I am, yes.
20 years old. That is that's my next note. Didn't even realize.
You have a note there? Oh yeah.
Yeah. I just I didn't realize that until because I've known you for a little bit now, tangentially, and then here and there we talk to each other while we conduct a small business. I sell often my records kind of wholesale to Patrick that I find when I'm out picking, and we got to talk a little bit, and I thought it'd be nice to talk to him more. And then one day I invited him out to the bar that I come to when I'm in town, and he said he could not come because he is not 21.
Oh, okay, that's when it was revealed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which bar do you frequent?
The Old Orehouse Irish Pub.
It's definitely one of the better ones in Millville. That's for sure.
It definitely serves a more liberal clientele. I'll leave it there. So yeah, you're very young. I feel like to be this long into a an adventure like this?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like a lot of people I meet, I'll tell them how old I am. They always think I'm in my 30s, or well, one guy thought I was like 38. I'm like,
Oh my god.
and I'm like, no, I'm 20, and they're like, what? How do you know all this stuff? And,
Yeah, that's something too. Yeah, I mean, like the things you deal with are obviously vinyl hasn't been around for the last 20 years, so anything that you're touching is probably made before you were alive.
pretty much. Yeah.
That's interesting, but so I guess the easy question to ask is, when did you start then? Because I've been aware of you selling on the circuit in like the last like 2, maybe 3 years.
Yeah.
When did it start for you though?
Well, I got my first records when I was 7 years old for my birthday. My mom went to the Goodwill and picked out 4, and she had like some crappy record player in the attic, and she brought it down. She's like, "Oh, I wanted you to see how music used to be
That's
played."
awesome.
And then I just started going out trying to find out bands that I would like, and I'll see stuff at a thrift store or whatever when I was little and pick it up. If I liked it, cool. If not, I'd go to record stores, trade in the stuff I'd find to get stuff I wanted.
And that seems like a cheap hobby at that time.
At
Especially.
that time, it was. I mean, you could go to a yard sale and people would have trouble getting rid of stuff for $1 or whatever. It was like right before everyone was back into it.
Yeah.
So did you discover any artists that you still really enjoy listening to strictly because of a record?
Yeah.
'Cause that's never happened for me. Like, I love records and I love music, but I've never found a band because of a vinyl.
There's tons of bands, just stuff I picked up just because the cover looked cool, or even stuff like I knew from when I was little, like the Beach Boys per se.
Yeah.
I used to get really annoyed by it, like just the doo-wop type.
I love doo-wop, dude.
And
I get it.
I was like, oh, and I found a copy of Pet Sounds at a yard sale, and I had never seen that one before. And I'm like, oh, this looks cool. And I was like, oh, this isn't about girls and surfing.
Yeah.
So
They were a lot more than that.
was
So you
pretty-
discovered Pet Sounds just
from
from you saw it, you thought it was interesting, and that's awesome.
it didn't have a car on the front, so I was like,
Yeah.
check it
Or the
out.
surfboards.
Yeah.
Interesting. And so it was a gradual, I guess, building of your own collection, and then you talked about you start trading some in. I
Yeah.
guess, as we kind of alluded to, the resurgence of vinyl started to happen. You probably started to find some gems in your collection, something like that.
Well, unfortunately, like a lot of the stuff I'd listen to it once and it would be kind of like, oh, I'm not gonna listen to that again and trade it in. But now, years later, it's like I still haven't found, and I always regret getting rid of whatever, you know.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. We'll cut this down some.
Can you go over your process for your business, for your online store, like where you get your stock from and how you sell it?
Sure. Most of the time, I get my stuff from the flea markets in the area. You know, I'll drive up to an hour or so regularly for a flea market, and if not the flea markets, I'll go to record stores, try to search out stuff that falls under their radars, or even thrift stores if I'm really desperate.
Yeah, but so record stores specifically, you're looking for something maybe they kind of placed like less value on and didn't realize it.
Yeah, exactly. Or just stuff that you can't necessarily sell in this area for whatever, but stuff online people can't get.
Do you focus heavily on I don't know if you look into like initial pressings of a vinyl, like can you look at a vinyl and know that it was an initial pressing?
I can tell most of the time.
That's
like
cool.
when it's from or just what's special about whatever, but most of
Yeah.
the time people don't care. So
Yeah, well, yeah, it's I guess it's easy to overlook if you're not, interested in it or looking into it. But
Talking about the record stores you sometimes go to, I was just telling Mike a couple weeks ago, I got excited because I found a record that we both love, Andrew Bird's Break It Yourself,
Yeah.
at the Philadelphia Records Exchange. You know that one in Manioc?
yeah,
Got it for $30. If I bought it online, it would have been 85 plus, something like that.
really,
Yeah, and I also got Buckingham Nicks German pressing for like probably 25 or something like that.
yeah,
And to me, as someone who doesn't specialize in records, I'm like, those are both $100 records to me. Like, is that like a margin you'd be happy with if you were at a record store like that looking for stuff?
At a record store, yeah, but like with the flea market, I'll buy something for like. There's this guy every morning. Why I get to the market at 5 in the morning? He'll have nothing but boxes of 25-cent 45s. So I pay a quarter. Most of them I might sell for $2 or $3, but a lot of people they'll buy a few at a time, and it adds up eventually.
Yeah.
But-
So are you? I guess you're still, even then, you're sifting through for good. You're not just taking like a box and be like, "I'll give you $5." No.
No,
I wanted to point out what I was getting at with that process is that you two have very similar processes in what you do.
Yeah, I think we're both kind of like pickers. It's like the most of our job is finding stuff.
But
Yeah.
at the core of it, it's really seeing It's like a X-ray vision or something. It's like seeing the value that other people can't see. I mean, that's like a really important aspect of what you do, right? You know, and I just wanted to make it known that you guys do similar work, so that's why there's a lot of understanding between you two and like how your businesses operate.
Definitely. I mean, I know me and my girlfriend were staying at a friend's house last night while we were in town, and there was like this. I didn't know what it was. A box that had like a power lit up button, a lit up power button on the front, and otherwise it's just a white box. And I was like, "That is Sonos or something?" And like I look behind it and I see the power cord, and I'm like, "Oh, that's a cheap power cord. No, it's not a Sonos. That's like a diffuser or something." Like I just like buy the power cord. I was like, "That's worth like $15 max, whatever it is." And I think you get an eye for quality and whatever it is you are used to seeing in this kind of business. You know, like
yeah.
So that's how you acquire your stock or your inventory. So what do you do after that? As far as like
what's processing like? Yeah, are you?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, when you're out there, you're looking at the condition as best you can in the moment, and you got to get home. Do you clean? What do you do?
So after I bring something home, I first always check them for bugs because I've
good idea before you bring them inside.
yeah, and
Good call.
Fingers crossed, I still haven't brought bugs back. I'm sorry. I've had this for like 3 years. Still
Bold.
no bugs.
That's bold.
So, and then if they're bug free, I have like just metal racks in the basement and just a bunch of just normal U-Haul moving boxes, and I'll put stuff in of stuff I want to keep and stuff to sell. So then after that, I'll just take a handful of just stuff so I might have ran out of selling or just stuff I haven't gotten to, and take photos, and then if it's good enough, I'll just give it a quick wipe off. If it looks a bit scratchy, I'll play test it, make sure it doesn't skip or sounds like garbage.
Is there? Is there? Sorry. Do you find something that plays well on your player might not play on the person's player they're buying or something like that?
Well, that's why I use 2 players.
I
I have.
That's awesome.
That's a trick of the trade.
Yeah,
I bet you're pretty good at spotting imperfections in a record too, though. Over
Yeah.
time,
Yeah, you
especially
can tell
getting introduced to records as young as you did, you could probably spot issues, right?
That'll play over. Like,
Yeah, it's like, if it's something rare, I'll be a little bit less picky about it. But if it's something common like Bruce Springsteen, like it might be $1, and I could still maybe sell it for $5, but I don't want to spend all that time listening to a $5 record.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, you don't want to listen to Bruce Springsteen.
Well, that too.
So
Just kidding. I'm sorry if there are Bruce Springsteen fans listening.
I doubt it. They don't know what a podcast is.
There's not many of them. No, I'm just kidding. There's actually a lot.
Only in the state. I should say we are in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Sorry to everyone in New Jersey.
Sorry, New Jersey.
We love Billy Joel still, right? We all like
Yeah,
Billy
yeah.
Joel here?
Yeah, I like Billy Joel.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I think we're safe. But so are you? Did you say that you were playing every record you find, or just if
it looks iffy or it looks like there might be just something wrong with it? So and the record player I use to play test scratchy stuff, I have the way purposefully like really sensitive and light, so there is something, it'll definitely catch it.
Nice. What do you got, Mike?
Well, yeah. So I'm still just going through the process. So that was quality
Yeah,
assurance.
quality checking.
And then so you take the pictures, you list them. Where do you list? Do you list them in one place or do you list them in multiple places?
All right, so I start all my listings on Depop since it's the easiest format to just get the initial listing, and then I'll cross post to eBay and then Facebook.
Oh, okay.
So I'll just copy and paste. Well, just save the photos still, and then go in, copy the text of the listing, and then just paste it into wherever else I need to list it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. I personally never have done any cross posting. And you're saying you're doing it manually? You don't have like a bot that does it?
No.
Yeah, I was gonna say what happens if I want to purchase the item on Facebook and Eric wants to purchase it on eBay in the same day. Does that ever happen?
It has happened a few times. Luckily, when it does, the person's understanding. Like, I'm never like,
Just
oh,
totally
someone
first
else.
come first serve kind of
Yeah.
thing.
So if like that's what when I list something new and it's something I think will sell, I'll make the listing, and then if it's like a day or two after, I'll just mark it sold when I go to sleep on one of the sites. But if it sits, then I'm normally good.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, because something like that with that much demand would happen
Yeah.
quickly. Oh, that's interesting. Can you go in a little deeper with why you prioritize Depop? It doesn't sound like it. It sounds like you just do it on all three of the ones you mentioned, or
Yeah, well, like with eBay, I try listing the higher end stuff that, like, I mean, Depop's mostly people my age or younger.
okay.
So someone on there will just gladly pay me $40 for rumors from Fleetwood Mac, but on eBay there's like 100 whatever copies for sale, and so it's always in competition. But
Yeah, so it's just a different marketplace.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Different markets.
I feel old because I'd never heard of it before, and he said it's
Yeah.
it's more like younger people, but that's cool.
Yeah, same. I'd also never heard of it. I think I was vaguely aware that it might be like a fashion-based thing.
it is. That's why I'm one of really the only vinyl sellers on there. So that's
Yeah, I mean, I asked Eric to send this to me just so I could look at it beforehand, and I saw you had 5,000 plus followers.
Do you want us to plug it?
yeah, sure.
We are at JLR Vintage, at JLR Vintage on Depop. We got 5,000 plus
Yeah, I mean,
followers.
that's nothing to
Yes.
sneeze at. And like I was looking at it, there's some really cool stuff on there. I didn't dive deep, but like I just saw even just the first, like I can see artists I love and would be interested in owning vinyl from these guys on the first two rows. So
Yeah.
like it was cool to see, you know. And it looks like you have a good rating on the website.
Yeah, and I'm also verified on there, so that's
Yeah.
Got that
So
blue check
what
mark.
do you know what goes into that?
all right. To be a verified seller, so it's weird. They're really flip floppy with it. So it's either you have to sell 200 items for $20 each month for 6 months, or you sell it's like $10,600 within the 6 months.
Okay.
And I obviously most of the stuff I sell is under $20, so I somehow managed to bring in that much, and just after so long,
Do you have to keep it up?
you do have to keep up with it.
Okay.
That's interesting.
You said it's mostly fashion. I mean, that was something you said, and it seems like that was the case. Is
Yeah.
that for any particular reason? Like, is that something that could like do you think that would hinder someone trying to sell something other than a fashion item, or is that just like kind of where they started?
I think that's where they wanted it to be. Like, they wanted to set it up sort of like Instagram,
Yeah.
where let you sell your clothes, and that's when I first made my account. That's what I was selling on there, the vintage T-shirts I'd find in the thrift stores.
Gotcha.
I
Okay.
never used to sell vinyl online, but then I was just like, well, no one's selling records on there.
Yeah.
And just from the few people that are, they're charging these just crazy prices. So I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to have...
You saw an opening.
Yeah, and
It makes sense. You have a market of people who are generally interested in buying frivolous things. I mean, like, not to talk down Depop, but you know, fashion, fashion is inherently
very
kind of
interesting to me.
frivolous. And so why wouldn't they want something that a cool, you know, I don't know, maybe you have better insight to this, but it seems like to me, half the people are probably buying it as an art piece.
I'm not exactly sure about that.
Yeah,
No, a lot of them, like, I have several repeat customers, and like just I don't know. I think most of them listen to him.
All right, maybe I'm wrong about that.
Yeah, and I think did you mention? I mean, I'm assuming if it's a fashion website, there, like you said, there's vintage clothing on there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that lines up pretty nicely with vinyl in general.
Yeah, it's not like I'm trying to sell used cell phones or something. It's like,
Yeah.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
well,
Gonna buy a cell phone? So we started doing kind of the basics of your processing and everything. I'm assuming you're very familiar with media mail.
yes, I am.
Can you explain what that is?
Yeah, I think that's something that like only people who do what we do know.
Right.
Media mail is a government subsidized mail for, I think it was originally only for books, and then they expanded it to all types of media. So movies, CDs, anything that can hold media on it. And does. Not only if it can hold it, it has to actually have it on it.
No blanks.
No blank tapes, no paper, no advertising. You can't sell like a pamphlet with a bunch of advertising in it. But all those things are way cheaper to ship through media mail. Often it's slower, but I've found, I don't know if you have that, like if it's not
People don't care.
if it's not a particularly busy time of the year for the post office, it gets there at about the same time as a normal
But
package.
at Christmas,
Oh no, yeah, you got like 3 or 4
the
weeks.
the complaints come rolling in.
Yeah, I think we entered this section. This is one of the questions, and that leads us right into it. Is do you experience up and downs in sales throughout the year?
Oh, for sure.
What happens at Christmas?
Well, right about mid-November, the sales they just really start picking up, and I'm just buying Christmas gifts. And in that time frame, I put in my bio, like, just if you are planning on getting this by Christmas, order at least that, and at least order 2 weeks ahead.
Yeah.
But with COVID and everything, the wait times, like I had people that they buy something 2 months prior and it still wasn't delivered, and I'm like, I can't do anything about it.
I had similar things too. People messaging them.
They needed you to drive it to them yourself.
Exactly.
It would have been way faster.
Walk it to them.
Yeah, that was a big deal. COVID. People really unhappy with the wait times, the post office, and whenever that new postmaster got put in and everything, and they started selling off all their infrastructure.
Yeah.
It slowed things down a lot. But hey, we got through it, right?
Is there anything? Question to both of you guys, because I feel like we've talked about this before. Is there any other seasonality to your business besides Christmas?
Well, the only other seasonality is just pretty much dead, which would be right now. But most of the time, it's pretty steady, and then, or just Father's Day was another one to where that led to a lot of sales.
Picked up.
Oh.
So you're saying summer is a little slower?
Summer is slow.
People are out and about. They're not really shopping online or anything.
Everyone I've talked to in this kind of realm, it's everything. All e-commerce slows down in summer.
Yeah. See, I think that's a general thing that doesn't need to be applied to vinyl and those products. It's just like you said, e-commerce in general. I think that's an interesting thing to think about if you're considering doing it.
And how about sourcing? I mean, for instance, like the flea market isn't open year round. Does that have some seasonality for you buying things?
It does. Like, nowhere's necessarily ever closed, but like right now with the flea markets, just because it's so hot, it's pretty much the same as it is when it's 20 degrees out over here. It's like not even half the people that normally show up, and then
the customers aren't coming, and the people aren't setting up, and
it's just this huge circle of.
But you've mentioned buffer is really important to what you're doing too, where like you could have maybe you can't make it out to the bins or something for like 3 months for unseen circumstances. Mm-hmm. Like you have inventory that can hold you over. Like do you does that even out the playing field throughout the year when you have those times where? Well, I guess that's more like stock related, like you said, but that doesn't really affect you. Like getting things doesn't have seasonality; it's more selling.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think like, I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm a proponent of buying more than you sell, like buying more than you list. I do it, and there will always come a time where I'm stuck at home for some reason, and if I have nothing else to do that day but sit in my basement and list stuff, then at least I can do that, you know?
Yeah, it's
Do your buffers indefinitely grow, or do they get to a point where like you're just happy with the inventory you have and you kind of just like hang out around that amount? Like, and I mean, space for your inventory could be a reason for that. You know what I
It's
mean?
a
Like you have a
resource.
room for all your stuff, and it's like, okay, I cannot take any more inventory.
Space is a resource for sure. I'm sure
Yeah.
there's a bigger problem probably for you with records. It's easy to bring in a lot of records.
Yeah, but it's also
hard
I
to keep
think
them
I
there.
think vinyl. I mean, at least if that's like one of the big. It sounds like one of the big three things that you do with cassettes and
Yeah.
clothing. Like at least you can plan ahead a little bit better because you know the size of them. Like you know the size of records is going to be the
Yep.
this or the 45.
But then
So-
you also kind of need specialized storage to some extent to
Yeah,
keep it
it's-
safe. And
Yeah,
everything.
so they're not damaged.
Whereas
but
I
you-
just have big totes that I just throw random things in.
Yeah, they're all different shapes
Yeah.
and sizes.
Yeah, I just throw them in one thing. I'll find it later.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's kind of one of the points we wanted to hit too. Is like we talked about similar experiences you two might have. Those are actually kind of some of the differences.
Yeah, I guess so. What was how did you bring that up again? I had something to say about it.
Buffer and inventory.
Yeah, I don't know about you. I've definitely had times where I just can't go out, and it helps to be able to sit and list. And I kind of factor that in when I'm out buying stuff, where maybe I don't want that $20 item that I'll make like $12 on or something like that. But I'll pick up one of those a day, and then a few weeks of that, and then I have a day's worth of work to do listing. That's worthwhile if I'm stuck at home.
Yeah. It's,
I don't know, do you find yourself picking up stuff where you're like, one day I'll have time to list those lots of 45s or something like that?
yeah, that's how it is. Like the more niche stuff I have, like just like a lot of the Latin stuff I find, or just weird stuff only like 3 people in the whole world are ever gonna want.
Mm-hmm.
Like I normally just put that on the back burner for just a long time. Like I'll look through a box and I'm like, oh, I forgot I bought that stuff.
Do you list those things right away and wait, or do you just keep them
I
set aside?
just it's just when I feel like it, or like
Because with items like that, they could randomly sell quick, or like you could just have it listed forever.
yeah,
kind of thing.
exactly.
Yeah.
You just gotta like just the weirder stuff. You have to find those few people that actually care about it. And
Yeah, like they might be out there, but they might not see it because they're
Yeah.
probably like looking for it, and they're like, all right, yeah, I'm not gonna find this.
I found it's I feel at least when I get something like that, like those things that might sell a couple times a year, and you've got like 1 of 5 of them that are gonna get sold that year, maybe. Like I find it more important to list that immediately than I do the thing I know it's gonna sell overnight. Just because I don't know if that sale's gonna come tomorrow or if it's gonna come in 2 months. But
Right.
if I miss the tomorrow sale and I have to wait 2 months
Yeah,
for that one,
that's interesting.
That's how I view that. I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
yeah, I mean, it's just that works too. It's like
It would be
Nice.
interesting for you guys, and I mean, it'd probably be annoying and a lot of work, but it would be interesting for you guys to like see an item like that reminds you of this conversation and just kind of like track how quickly it sells.
Yeah.
And
I
see
have
which
one.
which strategy, I guess maybe sells it faster, or like
I mean, you can't predict what's going to sell when, but
Yeah.
I had a little story about this where I picked out this book. It was self-published. I found a couple of these kind of things over the years where it's just the ravings of a lunatic, like 500 pages of stuff about how the Jews are connected to the Bermuda Triangle and like the stars and like stuff like that, and just insanity. But I'm like, I know, I've seen it enough times where I'm like, I know this is gonna sell, and I know guys who only sell books, and I was like, what do you think about this? You can check it on Amazon for me or something like that. He's like, I wouldn't get it. It'll probably take 6 months to sell, and I was like, I'll bet you this sells within 3 months for $150. And there was like no comps for this thing. And it's just like gut feeling, 3 months, $150. I'll sell that. And he's like, I don't think so. Go for it, man. And I listed it that night when I got home. 90 days later, it sold $165.
wow.
that's amazing.
Yeah, just like sometimes you feel like you can predict that kind of ephemeral nature just from experience in the market.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking on experience,
That's the end of the story.
I didn't want to cut you off. Yeah, I think it'd be interesting to hit on a couple of these other ones, like
Please.
The best single like haul that you got from a place, or even just the
absolutely.
best single item that you sold. Like, is there anything that pops in your head, or?
I do have a haul that I don't think I'm ever going to be able to top, but a couple of years ago, I went to the flea market and this lady was selling these old trucker T-shirts from the '80s, and they were all new old stock. And I noticed the brand was 3D Emblem, and that was the same company that printed all the Harley shirts back in the '80s. And she's like, oh, those are kids' sizes. And I'm like, but I was curious. I walked away, looked them up on my phone, like the series of them, and I saw like, oh, a couple $100. Oh, like, and I remembered seeing one in there and it sold for like $1,200. And I was like,
You got to go
So
back and rob that old
I
lady.
I walked back over and I was kind of like, oh, how much do you want for them? She's like, oh, $1 each. And I was like, okay, I'll take them all. She was kind of like, what? I'm like, don't buy them. And I got home and I'm like, oh, is this some kind of like just money laundering scam or something on eBay? And sure enough, I go home, list one I saw selling for like $500-$600, and a lot of them, when they were sold at dealerships or truck stops or whatever, and they would have back print. None of these had the back print, so they must have been sold.
I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with some of the lingo. I guess what is a back? What is back print?
Just front print, and then
Print on
in
the-
the back it would
okay.
have the.
Okay,
the,
sorry. Continue.
And I was just like, all right, I'll list this for $400, see what happens.
Yeah.
And within like 5 seconds, someone buys it.
Oh
I was
my
like,
god!
I was just like,
So that right there is 400x.
Someone had either a bot or an alert set up for that.
yeah, and
And that's one.
that was just one shirt, and I bought 40 something.
Holy smokes! Did they all sell that way?
Yeah, every single one. And I became
my
friends
God.
with a guy. Most of the people that buy these are in East Asia, and they'll just have someone they know in Oregon or California that ships it out to them. And so they'll scope eBay, tell their friend to buy it. And I became friends with one guy who lives in Thailand, and he's bought like every single shirt I have of that. And, like, no
Yeah.
problem giving me the money. And like throughout that whole summer, this guy just kept bringing all these shirts, and eventually started having the Harleys and everything. And I was just
Bring them to the flea market.
the flea market. Like, he would just find them, and like I guess he must have sold them brand new back in the day. And he was just
How
like,
do you have
oh,
so many? And how did he not stumble upon what you walked away from the table and
You'd be
looked it up?
surprised how bad people are.
Holy, but then again, yeah, it's like I said, it's that eye or even that thought process that you had.
Yeah.
If I saw that at the flea market, I'd be like, I would never buy that.
Oh, yeah.
And I wouldn't even
Likewise.
be interested in thinking about like, I wonder what people would pay. Like, I just don't think of it that way.
I might actually. I'm aware that like vintage John Deere hats and stuff go for
Yeah,
crazy.
but
money.
no, I think with what you guys do, it's just like I think always in the back of your mind.
So help me. What was the appeal of these shirts? Like,
from someone told me one time, one of the bigger vintage clothing sellers, and I forget where, but he has a couple of stores, and he was like, I think it's because they see that as like the ultimate form of Americana. Like, a lot of them, they'll have like Confederate flags on them, or like prostitutes getting into a truck or whatever, and they just see that as like the ultimate form of America, along with like 40s denim and
Yeah.
just
interesting. Okay.
yeah.
That's that's mind blowing, and then congratulations.
Yeah,
And, like,
yeah.
that's really cool. I think I'm glad we wrote that one down. You found it, Mike, because I think biggest score questions are like just.
Well, yeah,
I love to get asked myself those kind of things.
I was gonna
It's
say,
really
I
fun.
think I when we were talking, I don't know who came up with it or if we both did, but I mean, that was intended for both of you. If you want to answer,
I mean, sure, I'm interested. Biggest day wasn't that good. No, I kind of similar.
you bought a Harley Davidson shirt for $400.
Yeah. I never sold that. No, I was going to my normal spot, the bins, as it's colloquially called, and it went in, and back then they would let us line up inside. The bins are the Goodwill outlet stores.
Yeah, good to clarify.
I didn't really want to say it, but I guess I got to be transparent on my own show about being transparent. Yeah, the Goodwill outlet stores, they're the hub where all your donations actually go. If you donate to Goodwill, and then me and people like me just sift through your junk and take anything of value, and everything else gets compacted. But on this day, we're all lined up inside. It was pre-COVID. We're allowed to be like next to each other, and we're all lined up at the starting line because they make us stop while they switch everything out, and then they say go, and everyone goes. So
Terrifying.
it's very terrifying. I don't recommend it if you're a fan of horror.
It's like Black Friday.
Every day. That's what people have said is Black Friday every day.
Yeah.
But so we're lined up, and one of the guys there who never really gave me advice. He's well known there. People treat him well, but he doesn't really treat other people well. And he just, I don't know. He's like, hey man, you should check out that first bin. I think there's some. I think I saw some camera stuff in there. I was like, all right, I'm gonna be passing the first bin. I might as well take a look in there. I stop at the first bin, and I see just an entire bin full of cell phone boxes. They're flip phone boxes, but they're clearly new. I see one says 4G, so I'm like, these are pretty new flip phones, and they weren't sealed, but they're all in there. I start grabbing. I'm filling up a bin, and like people are like walking up next to me, other guys who do what I do, and they're like, "We grabbing?" I'm like, "Flip phones," and they're like, "Are they worth anything?" I'm like, "I don't know," because I mean, like,
let me do what I'm doing.
I always think the people who want to talk while the action is happening are the funniest. I'm like, you should be working right now. I don't know. You either start grabbing or stop talking. I don't know what to tell you. But so I'm grabbing them, and because I know from like people don't realize this, but your flip phone is probably worth. A random flip phone you find is probably worth more than an iPhone 4 you find, because they still have the value they had then. The iPhone 4 is basically useless. You know what I'm saying?
I guess, is it because there's so many iPhones that came after it?
That, and I think just the usability has gone down so much. It's basically an iPod that can make cell phone calls.
Yeah.
But I think people who want a flip phone for what it is, like purposely, want that more than someone wants an iPhone 4.
That makes sense. It's approaching the vintage appeal.
And
right?
there's plenty of Luddites who don't want something fancy.
People swear by their flip phone.
So the point of what I'm saying is that any flip phone is at minimum worth $15. Most are worth $25 to $35.
It's not bad. So yeah, I mean,
used.
you say $15, and it's like, okay, it's $15. Well, what did you get the phone for?
Nothing. So I'm looking at these in the box. I'm like, these are probably like $35 a piece. That's dope. I'll take all of these. I end up with like 25 of them or something in my bin. And I go to my phone once I got them all. eBay check, like 135. So what I'm actually looking at. I'm like, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
Per phone?
Per phone, yeah.
Wow.
And I had about 25 of them. I think it might have been closer to like 150 actually. Yeah, because I had like 25. I get home that day. I start organizing, listing them. I make a multiple quantity listing with like 7 of them just to like test the waters. And people are buying them slowly over a few days. About 4 or 5 days in, some guy says, "Hey, we'll buy out everything you got for $100 a piece." And I'm like, "All right, sounds good to me." I check out his store name or whatever.
He resold them.
Yeah, I mean, I found his Amazon store. I'm like, okay, you're gonna sell them on Amazon for 30%
But
more. Or something.
you got such a higher margin than he probably did, right?
Yeah, and just have him he can make money if he wants to make the 30% on it or
and
whatever.
you just had a guaranteed sale at a great price.
Yeah, so I probably paid like $25 and I got like $2,000.
That's insane.
And the same day I got like a Walkman WMD6C, which is a 500-hour Walkman.
Wow.
That was pretty dope. It was a great day.
That sounds like a good haul.
Yeah.
It's definitely not whatever 400 times 40 is, but
I'll say I've never had a record haul that good.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I guess we didn't really touch on the records. Like, what's your best like record day? What's your record-breaking record day?
Man.
Well, this one time this guy Eric brought me a bunch.
One time,
What a clown he was.
that sucker took $100 for some bluegrass records.
I know you're gonna make money on those bluegrass records. Don't you lie to me. I know you're gonna make money on them.
We'll see. But man, there's so many. But I think like the best one I'd say was the one time I went to Columbus, and this is from the guy that has the 25-cent 45s. He was just pulling stuff out of his van. He was like, "Hey Pat, I have like this box of records, and it's all good stuff, but there's no covers to any of them." I was like, "Oh, okay, let's take a look." And I start going through them, and like the first 5 are like Velvet Undergrounds, and then it was like Kraftwerk, and then it was like New York Dolls, and I was just all like, "Oh, okay."
Okay.
And the weirdest one in there was the Charles Manson record that came out like 2 years 2 years after he went to prison. His like ex cellmate like had his recordings, and he put it out on record. And they only made like 1,000 of them or something like that, and supposedly they destroyed 800 of them, and that would have been the best vinyl haul ever if they had the covers. Yeah. So that was a bummer.
How much? I don't know if you know it offhand, but like if you could guess how much of a price difference would it be without the cover?
Like without the cover, I could probably get someone to give me like $100 for that one alone. But with the cover, it's normally like 400. But there was I bought like over 100 records from that. If they all had the covers, it probably would have been a good like $5,000-$6,000 of albums. But
man, so I know the 45s are obviously smaller records, but are they typically only a song aside, or are they maybe more than 2?
Like I've had a few, they'll have 2 or 3 songs on each, but maybe
they have to be shorter or something.
Yeah, you're really trying to just shove.
Yeah, as much music on it as you can.
I mean, if you put so much on it, the sound quality is going to get pretty crappy.
Yeah.
I guess the point of those is to have good sound.
Yeah, you have the A side and the B side was always the classic, right? Like it's a single and then you got the B side.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, let's get into just kind of. I'm kind of interested in how you feel about what you do and where it's going, Sir Patrick. Like, I guess we didn't quite discover how it started for you, but can you give us a brief, like, how does like it become like a regular thing where you were buying and selling records?
All right, so like I was working on earlier with how I would find stuff at yard sales, trade it into record stores to get stuff I wanted. Like then just around, I'm going to say 2010 or 11, like people I just noticed were buying more. I'd see more people out at yard sales looking for records, and I was kind of like, okay. And then I would start, instead of trading in the records to the record stores, I'd trade them in for cash and go out and try to find more stuff and just keep multiplying it. But most of the time it would just go back into stuff I wanted either way. And then I was like, oh, well, I've always wanted to I always liked the atmosphere of a record store, just going in and looking at stuff. And I was like, that seems like it'd be fun. So then I started going to thrift stores, and I was like, oh, I'll try eBay. And at that time when I started eBay, I was really into gaming, so I would try to find the vintage gaming stuff too. So.
But then you discovered it. So is everyone else.
When
I discovered.
When was this? When you were trying to experiment with eBay a little bit?
This was probably 2015 or so.
And you're talking about the games that you were interested in. Were you interested in eBay solely as a buyer, or were you talking about selling things on eBay as well?
Both. And my sister had an account, so I would just ask her to list something, and I'd give her a cut of it. And
okay, so it kind of started 6 years ago when you would start selling things online?
Yeah.
Okay. And that happened before you would sell in person at like a flea market?
I would sell at flea markets every so often, but most of the time it would just be to get rid of stuff I've had, or just try to get enough cash to get stuff I wanted. And
I mean, I think it's important to know, so you were saying like you were around 15 when this started, right? And you are, effectively like a kid. You have no grown-up bills to worry about.
No.
So I think it's easier to kind of grow that bankroll when there's not like a giant hand taking out most of it every
Yeah,
month. So I mean, I don't know where you're at now, as long as like as far as that stuff goes. I know you have a nice car, so you probably paid a big chunk for that. But
yeah.
but I mean, is it different now? Do you find yourself being a little more focused on like really making money than just, I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. Like, if I'm out somewhere, if I see something I want someone selling, and I mean, if it's $1 or like $5, like if it's something I wanted, I'll just keep it.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's someone has something that I really want, I'll try to find other stuff they're selling, find enough to where I can pay for that one, and then still make a little bit off of the rest I have.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, oh, now I have to pay car insurance for 2 cars and a phone bill and rent, and I'm like, oh, well, so then I was just like, all right, I'm gonna just do this full time and just really dive into it.
Very cool.
That's very interesting. I think we're moving into that financial segment.
Mm-hmm. Kind of talking about. I think I was trying to circle back to that so we could get to how do you want this to go in the future? Like, do you plan on doing this indefinitely? Do you ever see yourself having a day job? Do you have plans for growth?
Eventually, I would like to open a store and online.
I was going to ask about brick and mortar. If you felt like you said, you liked the feeling of walking into a record store, and I definitely felt that way too. And I wondered if that made you think about, because I mean, there's a lot of benefits to doing things all online, but there's something very special and unique and exciting about having a physical store. So you think that would be something that you would eventually want to do?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, a lot of the stores, just most of the brick and mortar stores, they also have a heavy online presence because they have to.
Yeah.
And it's something people don't realize is that I think a lot of people think, oh, brick and mortar, it's outdated, it's antiquated. But at some point, you have stock, you need to store it somewhere. What if the place you stored it could also sell some of your stock every month?
Yeah.
You know?
And you can also make it an atmosphere. You can make it your own. You can make it a place that people want to go and hang out. Like you could have a little like listening station or something. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't have to just be a store. It can be it can be other things.
I'm sorry. I said I think it becomes your office and your warehouse and just
your hub,
your home.
Yeah.
Most of your life, probably.
Do you have a timetable for something like that that you would want to meet, or is it just a little more vague at the moment?
I think it's just for how I'm not necessarily early into it, but just trying to really up the online thing, and maybe within the next decade, who knows? But even then, who knows what vinyl could be like 10 years from now?
It's true. Do you say vinyl did die? Do you see something you would easily pivot into? And I think and also again, would you ever consider a day job? I don't know.
I mean, I'd always, if need be, I would get one, but it's just I don't know if it's just me being stubborn, but if I wanted to work somewhere, it'd have to be in a vintage resale kind of environment, because that's just really all I know.
Mm-hmm. Kind of your passion.
It's I mean, I have the knowledge and everything to do that type of thing, so it's well, if I know about whatever, it's sort of I'm not thinking I'm going to be good at doing anything else.
Yeah, capitalize it, and you know that you can be efficient with it. So, like you said, it's a passion. I mean, those are huge marks that anyone wants to hit. Yeah, why wouldn't you just do it?
Yeah, I mean, I know personally, I found myself, when I started doing this, it was out of necessity, and I looked around, and I said, okay, I'm out of money. My resume looks non-existent. My options are work at the mall for whatever was at the time, $8.95 an hour or something, or try to make money, find a way to make money. So I dove headfirst in as soon as I started getting all the forums, all the videos, looking for content like this, like I said, and found it and found a way out. But if I didn't, I had no path to success. It was the only thing I could do to sustain myself.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, Mike, you've taken a different route. I think we should kind of mention that while we're here with you.
Sure.
Like you've been working for Comcast for
7 years.
7 years.
7 plus.
And your father works for Comcast. It's kind of
Yeah.
like a family business almost.
Yeah, he was in cable over 30 years. Not at Comcast, but I mean, the company he worked at got bought out by Comcast. So it was just like a natural stepping stone.
And I imagine, like, not to get into your personal finance too much.
I would love to. Yeah, hit me with it.
Oh, can you give me like a ratio? What percent increase in wage are you getting than when you started?
Total, or yearly?
Total.
Let me hit the calculator. Yeah, I'm 100%.
100%. And could you see yourself now living this life you live now on half of what you make?
I wouldn't be happy, and it's not because I wouldn't be able to afford what I want. It would be because I wouldn't be able to invest enough.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have.
Which is a way of saying you'd see no method of growth, right?
My growth would slow, and like I want my growth to be exponential. I don't want it. Yeah.
I don't know. I think I just wanted to point out there. I don't know about you. I feel like we're going to be talking about a lot of people who don't see themselves in day jobs, and I think a part of that is that if you have spent your teenage years and whatever it might be, your youth focused on creativity or some odd passion, you don't have the skills to get you a decent job, even though you might be capable of it.
That societal pressure and expectation, it's trash, and that's why I love talking to both of you guys about what you do, because it seems like you're really honing your skills and actually making it viable, you know.
Should we ask him the big question, Mike?
Oh yeah, let's ask him which one's the big one. You go for it.
I think you know the big one. Hey Patrick, how much money do you make?
How much money do I make? Do you wanna...
The financial segment.
Or however you are interested in talking about it. Really, I think it doesn't have to. You don't have to tell us, but I'm gonna ask you a few questions around the bush.
All right.
Have you been consistently making more year to year?
For sure. Yeah.
Even considering that crazy John Deere shirt thing.
Yeah, I never really counted that. I sort of just put that off to the side.
Like a windfall.
That was going to play into one of my questions, but maybe I'll just let you.
Hey, you hop in, Mike.
Oh, okay. So one of my questions, I had a lot of questions that all kind of blend together. One of them, and this is going to sound really stupid, but I think it might be a good question. Especially as a business owner and like the sole employee of your business, do you feel that you're financially responsible with the money that you make?
Sometimes. Other times I'm like, why did I do that? Or
Like in what way? Like overspend on like food or like something you want?
Classic cars or records you like?
Classic cars.
Yeah, like I'll buy stuff, or just even something like I think it was better than it really was. Like, just small petty stuff like the Fleetwood Mac Rumors. That's one I had mentioned I sell all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when I first started collecting records, that's when everyone would have at least 2 in their collection. You couldn't give it away.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's just like people my age, they want it. Like, it's the greatest thing ever recorded. And like, I couldn't believe, like, I first started listing them. I'd list them for $10. It'd sell in a couple minutes. And I'm like, okay. Then I started listing them for $30 and $40, and I'd still sell them.
Yeah.
So, I'll pay a good amount if they look good enough. And sometimes I'll spend like $25 on it. I'll take it home, look at it under a better light, and it looks like garbage, and it's only like a $10 copy of it. And sometimes I'll buy like whole collections like that. Mm. It looked better than it really was, and I end up losing money on it after shipping it out. And
yeah. Hey, next time, just tell me you want your money back. It's fine.
No, not your stuff.
I'm kidding. I got some stuff in the car for you, by the way. It's funny that you mentioned rumors, because that's when I would see it more. Every time I was like, oh, that's $10. That's $10. I would do flea market, and even though I tried to sell my stuff cheap at the flea market, like it was mostly to get rid of it. I'd have like a $1 pile, a $3 pile, like a $10 pile, right? And I'd put the rumors in the $10 pile, even though it's like a $6 records on Discogs or whatever. I'd put it in the $10 pile, and I would never go home with the rumors. I'd never go home with any Fluid Mac.
Yeah. Well, Rumors is one of the best-selling albums of all time, right?
Yeah, it's
and Thriller and
Eagles' Greatest Hits.
Yeah.
Number 1.
Yeah. I mean, it's. I don't know.
You were heading somewhere, Mike.
I had a bunch of financial questions. I can just
hit it. Rapid fire.
Take away.
Rapid fire. Mike's financial corner. Go.
Oh, I like that. I like that segment.
Speed run.
Okay, so selling records is currently your sole income. Is that correct? Records is generalization.
Yeah, just vintage media, music
Right.
media. Yeah.
So is the plan as of right now is to continue that?
Yeah.
Okay, I like that. Because of that, do you set aside money for taxes?
Yeah, unfortunately.
What's your process for that like? Do you do it like per transaction, or are you like at the end you realize how much you have to pay? You're just like, oh, okay.
I'll look at what I brought in each month, and just from what I have, I'll try to set aside so much of that. And,
so you do it monthly.
Yeah, monthly, and I also pay quarterly for taxes. So
right, yeah. So this is actually stuff like I'm not familiar with that because I don't have my own business. So do you have an LLC set up or anything like that, or
no? Just I get a 1099 from PayPal and go off of that.
Okay.
Yeah. And never mind. Not gonna ask that question. That'd be illegal. I'll just say this. I know a lot of guys who do in-person sales, say the flea market, who report a substantially lower income because it's all cash.
Oh, yeah. It's
We would never do that.
No.
Because we're upstanding Americans. But I'm just saying people do that. So you said that money. Have you created an LLC? Did you go that route?
Yeah, and he said no, right?
Not yet. I planned
on
it.
Plans
I have plans to do with that.
Have you looked into it at all? Because that's something that I'm always interested in, but I've never really delved into myself.
I looked into it a while ago, and I talked to someone about it, but I don't know what happened where I just never went through with it yet. So,
I'll say personally, I haven't done it either. I haven't seen a need to. I feel like it becomes important when you have either employees or something you need to insure.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Like, just from the stock that I have now, like, I don't know, say, it all bursts into flames or whatever. Like, there's nothing there to where it's just all like, oh, I lost $1,000 record and I'll never, it's...
Like, you'd be upset, but you'd recover.
Yeah, it's...
Yeah. And I know there's other ways to do it, too, and I'm not super knowledgeable on it, but... there might be another fit that's better that isn't an LLC, or none of it might not even be necessary at all. But
all right, let's go into Mike's fire corner.
Fire corner. Okay, so do you do your own taxes, or do you have someone that does the taxes?
No, someone does them for me.
Are you familiar with the FIRE acronym?
No.
It's financial independence, retire early. You've never heard of that before?
No.
So what do you think?
Subreddit.
There's a big movement, I guess, in like the millennial generation geared towards
financial independence, retiring early.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly that. Do you align yourself with that philosophy, or is that like not really something you think about at all? Like retiring early, or obviously you're already financially independent. You're not relying on someone else to pay you.
Yeah, like, I mean, I don't think like that. Like with vinyl, I'm sure eventually somewhere along the line I'm going to get burnt out with it. But like, I don't know. It's just, music's music for me. It's not like I'm ever going to get tired of doing whatever. So even if I'm like 80 years old and still listening.
I don't necessarily mean retirement in that sense. I mean like the fact. So yeah, I mean I guess it's a hard question for you because you actually really enjoy what you do.
Like I'd never say I'd want to get out of it.
Yeah, exactly. So in a way, you're pretty much already where a lot of these people would like to be. You know, you're not working for somebody to give you a paycheck, and you are already doing something you enjoy, which is actually.
Would you say if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life?
Say it,
Well,
Patrick. Say it.
You know, I want
You're
to.
saying it.
Would you please say it?
You know,
You
that's
gotta
just you know, I'd say that if it wasn't the aspect of packing stuff up. Other than that, I'd be fine.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever thought about? I don't know if we touched on this. Have you ever thought about growing and employing people?
Yeah, I'd love to do that and make them do all the crap I don't want to do. And
Absolutely.
just,
I like it.
you know, they can spend hours cutting boxes for the squares to ship the packaging for the
But
records.
there's a lot of learning, like a lot of potential for someone to do that and just kind of see the process,
Yeah.
right? I mean, like they might be doing like the shit work, but they can actually, especially if you just get like a younger person that's, you know, like they don't know what they want to do yet, and like they like music or like you know, there's a lot of potential there.
Yeah.
Do you use credit cards?
No.
I like that. I like that. But also, here's another one. What your credit score, Patrick?
Well, it's I wouldn't call it a number.
Probably. I don't know. What is it if you've never used anything? It's like
I don't know.
I think it has like a set value. I think it's like in the 600s or something.
You can't have zero, right?
No, I think it starts at like six something.
So you don't know your.
I'm making this up, by the way. I'm sorry. This is very irresponsible for me to say.
Are you the credit bureau, dude?
I feel like it starts at a number though.
Maybe it does. I think it does. I think you're right.
A non-zero number, integer. We had a game planned that if it was if your credit score was higher than Mike's, you're gonna get $20 from him.
Oh well.
You butchered that one, Patrick.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh well.
Missed opportunity.
I apologize.
Hey, I'm happy. Save $20.
Do you want to hit this topic?
The next one below that.
Mm-hmm. Let's skip it.
Your call.
Let's
your
skip
call.
it. I think we've
I'm
kind
cool.
of covered
I'm cool
it.
with that.
All right, Patrick Fagan, JRL Vintage, JLR Vintage.
Yes.
Do you have any questions for us?
Questions in
Whatever.
Any realm, any space.
any realm.
Anything you want to talk about, man?
All right. Here's one for you. Why don't you like dealing in vinyl?
It's not that I don't. I think I feel I don't have an outlet for it. I don't. The idea of selling online scares me because I'm not super familiar with grading.
Okay.
And I feel like vinyl buyers are pickier than, say, CD buyers about quality for obvious reasons. And I don't have really time to do like flea markets every weekend.
Yeah.
Because you know what I do is I do everything, a bit of everything. So to try to specialize in more than a couple of things, I'd get burnt out and I wouldn't be able to do everything. So I'm happy to wholesale it to someone who I feel like, could make some money on it.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying. Trying.
Anything else?
I don't know. I want to say something or ask something smart, but I don't think I'm too good at that one. But
You're doing great.
Yeah, you think so?
Hell yeah.
All right, here's a personal one for you.
Okay.
You had mentioned you'd done accounting at Cumberland.
Yeah.
Who's your professor?
Oh man.
Was it Zorzi?
No.
No.
That sounds
I don't
familiar.
think so. No.
So
I would have remembered the name.
Yeah.
Because I loved it. But I would have recognized it if it was a name, but I can't think of it.
All right. Yeah.
Why do you ask?
Well, I did a year over there last year, and I was gonna go again this year, but
For accounting? Or that was just a class you took?
It was a class I had to take, but it ended up being the only one and I enjoyed doing. So
right?
I
Is
was,
it just like intro to accounting or something?
yeah, I thought it was gonna be like the hardest thing ever.
No,
I was just all
loved
like,
it.
yeah. I was just wondering. 'Cause I've never had anyone that's had this guy, because I guess he switches between the two.
What's the name?
Zorzi?
Mark Zorzi.
No, I didn't know.
Kind of looks like 90s Elton John, but
Bald with glasses?
He does wear glasses.
He's not bald. Elton John's not bald.
Not bald, but
I'm just picturing the guy that I had the class
glasses,
with. All right? I wasn't picturing Elton John, which I should have.
Would have helped.
I would have. I forget what the guy's name is, man. No, there's no way it's the same person. But
No.
I'm glad that you enjoyed the class because I did
Yeah.
too. And I mean, honestly, that kind of, in a weird way, put me on whatever. I don't know what my trajectory is necessarily, but whatever I'm on, it was because of that first accounting class I took, honestly.
Yeah.
So, props to Cumberland County College accounting courses. Intro to
yeah.
accounting, because the later accounting courses are horrible. Maybe not at Cumberland, but in general, I think they're just awful.
Yeah, I didn't. Second one wasn't too bad either, so it was all right.
Anything else you'd like to say before we wrap this up? We're going to plug your store, if that's cool with you.
Yeah.
You can do that then.
JLR Vintage, at JLR Vintage on Depop.
And we're gonna
have links below, maybe to the side even, who knows.
It depends on where we're at.
Get freaky, you freaks. Check it out. No, okay. Now I have a short game I've devised to end this
I'm so
episode.
excited for the game.
Can anyone break a 10? Don't worry.
I can break half a 10.
Well, that might come in handy. We'll pretend I have 2 5s, okay? Because
All right.
either way, someone's getting Venmo'd.
All right, so you got 2 5s.
Thanks. Now, we have 2 bottle caps here that are 5s.
They're 5s.
Are either of you familiar with the prisoner's dilemma?
I've heard of it.
I don't.
Essentially, there's 2 prisoners in this little thought experiment where they're both given a choice. Now that it's told to them, hey, you can either rat out the other person, and they can rat out you. Now, if both of you rat each other out, you're both going to prison for life. But if one of you rats out the other person, and the other person doesn't, then the person who got ratted on goes to prison for life. The other person does not go to prison at all. But if neither of you rat, you each do like 10 years. It's something like that, okay? I'm sure it's more specific than that, but that's the general idea. Now, I don't have a prison, but I do have 2 $5 bills, kind of. All right. So I'm gonna give you both an option here. You can either share the money, and you each go home with $5, or one of you can try to steal the money and go home with 10. But if you both steal, you don't get nothing. Now, you're free to discuss this amongst yourselves.
I would appreciate larger
ahead.
stakes.
Yeah.
I want $10,000.
Okay, we'll make it 10. Not gonna make 10.
No, I'm just kidding.
No, we're making it 10. All right.
We're really breaking your wallet.
No. We're making it 10. $10 each, or 20 total. Now, you two can discuss this now. How you want to play it?
So we can scheme and just split it.
Yeah, if you trust the other person.
So I could be like, yeah, I won't rat you out, Patrick. Easiest $20 I ever made.
Exactly. So go ahead. You decide.
How much I trust you, Patrick.
What do you guys want to do?
I don't know. So we're deciding.
You're not giving your final answer now.
Oh, okay.
You two
we're just figuring out
You
what
guys
you
can
want to
think
talk about. Are you even open to discussion, Patrick?
Sure.
Okay. What's on your mind right now?
It's on my mind. Normally I don't, I'm not greedy, so.
Right, that's how I'm feeling. I feel like we just split it.
All right,
and
Mike.
we don't rat on either
Mike,
person.
please leave the room. I can talk to Patrick now.
Okay. Mike, give me a moment. My headphone line is tangled.
All right, Patrick. What are you thinking? You gonna try to split it with him? You gonna try to take it?
Good with splitting.
Yeah. You're gonna
Yeah.
go with splitting. You trust him?
Yeah.
You know, if he tries to take it, you don't get anything.
It's alright.
Damn. You're a real good person.
I try.
All right. Michael, please return to the room. Michael, to the room. I'll get him. Actually, can you go get him?
I will.
All right. don't know. I guess the question is, how much do you trust Patrick here?
I'm thinking it's a big old mind game. I don't know. I mean, it definitely is. So you had me leave the room to think, oh, I definitely have to.
I got Patrick's final answer. Now I'm getting yours.
I definitely have to rat out Patrick when I was thinking about it outside.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well. I trust Patrick wholeheartedly.
Really?
Yeah.
And you're gonna try to split the money with him. That's your goal.
Why shouldn't I?
Because if you trust him wholeheartedly, then you can try to steal the money. Because you know he won't.
If I don't trust him wholeheartedly, is what you're saying.
No, if you do trust him wholeheartedly,
Right.
the money's that much easier to steal.
Oh, yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You could be a chump. The money's right there.
And you gave him the same spiel, huh? So you're just representing the
facts.
the problem
Mhm.
to me directly.
Yes.
Insane.
I'm
I
just
got
saying.
Patrick's answer.
Let's look at it. He could have either decided to split it with you or tried to take it from you. And if you think he tried to,
What's the amount on the table here?
it's $10 to $20 or $0 if you both try to steal it. 10 if neither of you steal it. 20 if one of you steals it. 0 if you both steal it.
I still trust Patrick.
Yeah. And you remember now I'm saying if you trust him, the money is that much easier to steal.
Yeah.
And if he is stolen from you, it doesn't matter if you trust him or not. Okay. Just.
Patrick trusts me.
The money's
I
that
think
much-
I don't know. I'm
the
just
money's that
gonna
much
not
easier to
rat
steal.
Patrick out.
That's your final
Yeah,
answer?
that's my final answer.
All right, can you go get Patrick for us?
Sure.
So you both have had the option to steal from each other. And you both seem to trust each other. Now, I explained that if you trust the other person, the money is that much easier to steal. But neither of you stole. You split the money. You are both winners today.
That's how you do it. That's how
Yeah.
you do it right there.
I will point out that either of you, had you chosen the other option, would have made twice as much money.
Not too bad.
I don't care.
All right?
I'm up today.
I will be Venmoing you both $10.
I like
Congratulations.
I like it.
Ooh.
And that has been the first episode of the Sales Report podcast. Once again, I'd like to thank my co-host, Mike Smith. Mike, thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone, for listening, and thank you, Patrick, for sitting down with us today and talking about your small business.
And I wanted to also thank Patrick as well.
Uh-oh.
No, you weren't. You weren't going
No.
to do it. You should have ratted Eric out.
Well, I thank you both.
If that
for
was an
having
option,
me,
it
you
might
know?
have happened.
Well, yeah, Eric would rat me out.
Well, I mean, we robbed Eric blind for $20.
He
So
would've-
who lost?
Who's the real good person here?
We could have used that money to buy some flip phones. So
Yeah. Or a Harley Davidson shirt.
I moved on to holsters. I sell holsters now. But yeah, it's been great. Thank you so much, Patrick, for joining us.
Thank you.
I have to pee very badly. Good night, one and all. We love you.